Welcome to Human Parallax, where ordinary eyes see the extraordinary. Before the story begins, let me ask you this: if your childhood was shaped not by toys, but by war, what would you become? Let's begin our journey. The sun dips low as I walk the outer path of the capital, tea warming my hands while shadows stretch across the stone. Children run past me, laughing, chasing small light orbs that flicker and dart like fireflies. Their voices echo against walls that once echoed commands instead. I slow my steps, watching them, and for a moment time folds in on itself. I am no longer old, no longer king. I am simply watching childhood pass me by, again. I remember standing like this once before, much smaller, wondering why joy always seemed temporary. The children laugh freely, unaware of borders, of duty, of the weight that waits patiently for everyone. I sip my tea and breathe, realizing my childhood never truly ended. It was only paused, waiting for me to catch up. When I close my eyes, I do not hear games. I hear boots striking stone in perfect rhythm. I hear armor locking into place, metal sliding against metal. Those sounds followed me through halls meant for learning and rooms meant for rest. War did not announce itself. It simply existed like air. I once asked my father why the drills never stopped. "They stop when they are no longer needed," King Draven said. "And when will that be?" I asked. He did not answer right away. "When forgetting becomes safe." That answer stayed with me longer than any bedtime story. Even now, the children's laughter feels fragile, like glass balanced on stone. My father's love was measured in preparation. He never said I would be safe. He showed me how to stand when safety failed. In the training yard, he corrected my stance with a firm hand and a sharper gaze. "Again," he said. "I did it right," I protested, breathless. "Right is not enough," King Draven replied. "Ready is better." At night, I once asked him if he feared losing us. "Every day," he said quietly. "Then why push so hard?" "Because fear is a promise," he answered. "Preparation is how we keep it." Only later did I understand that was the closest he ever came to reassurance. Queen Seren never raised her voice. She did not need to. Her words carried weight because they were chosen carefully. When I bruised my hands during training, she cleaned them without comment. "Does it hurt?" she asked. "Yes," I admitted. "Good," she said gently. "Pain teaches you where not to break." I frowned. "I don't want to learn that." She met my eyes. Neither did I. She taught me grace by example, showing how to stand tall even when the ground beneath you shifts. Through her, I learned that softness and strength are not opposites. They are partners, bound by endurance. Finn was younger, lighter somehow. He played longer than I did. I noticed it even then, the way adults smiled more easily around him. One afternoon, he tugged my sleeve as I watched drills. "Why don't you play with me anymore?" he asked. "I can't," I said. "Who says?" I looked toward the training ground. "Everyone." He frowned, processing this in a way only children can. "That's stupid," he said, then ran off laughing. I watched him go, knowing that laughter would one day leave him too. The difference was, I would see it coming. Advisor Liss spoke in numbers and probabilities. When I measured time in days until rest, he measured it in years until conflict. I once sat quietly while he spoke with my father. "If we delay, we lose 3 systems," Liss said. "And if we act?" my father asked. "We lose fewer," Liss replied. I interrupted without thinking. "People live there." Liss looked at me, not unkindly. "People live everywhere, Your Highness." That was my first lesson in survival math. Some equations never balance. They only end. Kiran was always there. Silent, steady, unnoticed by most. When nights grew heavy and sleep refused me, he would sit nearby without speaking. Once, during a storm, I asked him if he was afraid. "Yes," he said simply. "Why don't you run?" He shook his head. "Someone must stay." That answer wrapped around me like a blanket. Fear shared became lighter. Kiran taught me that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it stays. Dinner was where tension learned to smile. Finn joked about lessons. My father smiled thinly. My mother corrected posture. Advisor Liz spoke between bites. If the border fails, we reroute supply lines, Liz said. Finn laughed. That sounds boring. War usually is, my father replied. I smiled, though my stomach tightened. Plates clinked. Laughter rose. Plans formed quietly beneath it all. I learned that humor is not denial. It is armor, worn lightly so it doesn't crack. Now, as I watch children run beneath the setting sun, I understand what I could not then. War never waited for permission. I remember the moment clearly because it felt unfinished. I had been standing near the outer court, watching Finn argue with another child over a broken toy. I was smiling, half present, when a shadow fell across us. A guard cleared his throat. My name followed. Prince Athel. That was all it took. I did not argue. I did not ask why. My feet moved before my thoughts did. Finn looked up at me, confused, still holding the toy. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Inside," I said. "For how long?" I hesitated, then shrugged. I did not know yet that this was the shape of things to come, being pulled away before I learned how to say no. The training yard was louder than play, but less joyful. Steel rang against steel. Commands cut through the air with sharp clarity. I stood beside my father, hands clasped behind my back, posture corrected before I realized it was wrong. "Watch," King Draven said. "Remember." I glanced once toward the distant laughter beyond the walls. "Why can't I train later?" I asked. "Later is never guaranteed," he replied. A blade slipped. A soldier fell. Another helped him up without ceremony. "See," my father said. "Mistakes don't pause for childhood." I nodded, not because I understood, but because everyone else seemed to. We walked along the stone edge of the yard while drills continued behind us. "You are angry," my father said. "I wanted to stay," I answered. He stopped. "Wanting is irrelevant." "That's not fair." "No," he agreed calmly. "But it is necessary." I clenched my fists. "Necessary for what?" "For survival," King Draven said. "For leadership. For being ready when others aren't." I looked back at the soldiers. "I'm just a child." "Exactly," he said. "Which is why we begin early." That was the first time I understood necessity does not explain itself. It simply proceeds. Queen Seren found me later, sitting alone near the inner steps. She did not ask what I had seen. She already knew. "You were brave today," she said. "I didn't do anything." "You endured," she replied. "That counts." "Why didn't you stop him?" I asked quietly. She sat beside me. "Because stopping him would not stop the world." Her hand rested lightly on mine. We sat in silence, listening to distant drills fade into evening. She did not justify the choice. She accepted it. That silence pressed deeper than words. That night, Finn cornered me in the hall. "They didn't call me," he said. "Why you?" "I don't know," I answered. "You looked upset." "I was." He frowned. "Did you do something wrong?" "No." "Then why couldn't you stay?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. King Draven's footsteps echoed nearby. Queen Seren's voice followed. Finn looked between us. "You all know, don't you?" No one answered him fully. His confusion lingered longer than the question. Later, as the palace settled, I sat alone. Kieran approached quietly and placed a cup of warm broth beside me. His hand rested on my shoulder, steady. "Did I fail today?" I asked. "No," he said. "Then why does it feel like I lost something?" Kieran thought for a moment. "Because you did." "What?" "Time," he said simply. I swallowed. His hand remained until my breathing slowed. He did not tell me it would be fine. He stayed. That mattered more. The next day, I returned to the yard without being called. I watched from the edge as blades rose and fell in perfect rhythm. I no longer searched for laughter beyond the walls. A soldier caught my eye and nodded respectfully. I nodded back. Something lowered inside me then, not my head, but a barrier I did not know I had. Watching became easier. Distance grew comfortable. I realized I was learning how to observe without reaching. Childhood slipped quietly away. That evening, Advisor Liz spoke with my father while I listened from the steps. "The humans withdrew," Liz said. "They evacuated the population instead of holding the line." King Draven frowned. "They abandoned the city." "They saved the people," Liz replied. "At great cost." "That seems inefficient," I said before thinking. Liz glanced at me. "It is." "Then why do it?" I asked. No one answered immediately. That silence stayed with me longer than strategy ever did. As night fell, voices murmured behind closed doors, decisions forming without me. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening. That day, I learned something fundamental. My childhood would not be shaped by play, but by conversations I was too young to join. Choices would be made for me, and lessons delivered without warning. I turned on my side and closed my eyes, already preparing for a world that would not wait. The transition was quiet, which made it permanent. No one announced that games were over. They simply stopped asking where I was. My days filled with schedules, drills, and observation posts instead of wandering halls. I noticed the change not by what arrived, but by what vanished. "You don't have to stay the whole time," Finn said once, tugging my sleeve. "I do," I replied. "Who says?" I glanced toward the training yard. "Everyone." He frowned, then ran off. I stayed. No one pretended it was temporary, and that honesty felt heavier than comfort. Training was precise. When I fell, no one rushed forward. A hand extended only after I reached for it myself. "Again," the instructor said. My knees burned. I rose anyway. King Draven watched silently. Later, I asked him why no one helped sooner. "Because they were watching what you would do," he answered. "And if I stayed down, then they would have helped," he said. "But you would have learned something different." I nodded, understanding that comfort teaches rest. Correction teaches survival. Maps covered the table, lines drawn where peace thinned into threat. My father spoke calmly. "The border here is weak," King Draven said. "What happens if it breaks?" I asked. "Then people run," he replied. "Or they fight. And us. We decide who gets time." That answer settled into me. Fear did not shout. It waited. I felt it then, not panic, but awareness. Fear lives in responsibility, not danger. Queen Seren corrected my posture as gently as she corrected my thinking. "Stand straighter," she said. "I'm tired." "So is everyone," she replied softly. Later, when news arrived of a lost outpost, I watched her listen without breaking. "Will they recover?" I asked. "No," she said. She took a breath and continued walking. From her, I learned grace is not softness. It is control, practiced daily. Finn noticed the change before I admitted it. "Do you ever miss it?" he asked one evening. "Miss what?" "Not knowing," he said. I thought for a moment. "No." He studied me. "I do." I wanted to explain why ignorance fades first, but I stayed silent. Some questions must survive a little longer. Finn kept asking them. I kept answering less. Advisor Liz spoke as if emotion were a variable to be minimized. "If we reroute supplies, we save 3 sectors," he said. "And abandon the 4th, my father replied. "Yes," Liz said calmly. "That sector has civilians," I said. "All sectors do," Liz answered. "This one has fewer." I clenched my jaw. "You will understand," Liz added, "when responsibility outweighs sympathy." I did not argue. I began to understand why leadership feels lonely. Human reports arrived more often, unusual choices repeated across systems. "They withdrew again," Liz said. "From fortified ground?" King Draven asked. "Yes." "To evacuate non-combatants." "That is costly," my father said. "Extremely," Liz agreed. I listened, unsettled. "Did it work?" "They survived," Liz said. Survival without victory felt wrong to me then. Yet the thought lingered, refusing to fade. Humor surfaced in the strangest moments. "If this collapses," Finn joked during one tense briefing, "at least I won't have to study tomorrow." King Draven smiled faintly. "Your optimism is misplaced," Queen Saren added, but appreciated. Laughter eased the room, briefly. I learned humor does not erase fear. It sharpens it, making survival bearable. Days blurred into duty. Decisions accumulated quietly. "Attend the council," my father said. "Observe the drills," Liz added. "Rest later," my mother advised. Later never came. One evening, I realized I no longer looked for play, or rest, or excuses. Something small was missing, and I could not name it. It became clear one night as I watched the city lights from above. War was not shaping me into a fighter. It was shaping me into a decision. I sipped my tea slowly, understanding at last. Winning ends wars. Choosing defines what survives.
The alarms began before dawn, low and steady, the kind meant to wake minds before bodies. I was already awake. I often was. From the balcony, I watched the horizon glow red, not with sunrise, but with warning signals pulsing across the outer districts. Childhood did not end loudly. It ended with preparation. "Confirm breach," King Draven ordered as he entered the command chamber. Advisor Liz moved quickly. Multiple points. Coordinated. My hands tightened around the railing. I understood then that nothing waited for me anymore, not innocence, not delay. The borders had failed, and with them, the last excuse to remain unready. The chamber filled with voices, overlapping but precise. Redirect fleets. Secure civilian corridors. Seal inner gates. Finn stood near the doorway, silent for once. "Where do you need me?" I asked. King Draven looked at me. "Here. You listen. I can help." "You are helping," he replied. "By learning." No one asked if we were ready. Readiness was assumed, demanded, enforced. I realized readiness was not confidence. It was obedience to necessity. A new report appeared on the display. "Human vessels disengaging," Liz said. King Draven frowned. "They're retreating?" "Repositioning," Liz corrected. "Evacuating population centers." "That leaves the flank exposed," my father said. "Yes," Liz replied. I looked between them. "They're choosing people over territory." The room went quiet. "That choice will cost them," King Draven said. "Already has," Liz answered. I did not know why my chest tightened at that. I only knew I was watching something unfamiliar unfold. Orders paused mid-sentence. My father stared at the projection longer than necessary. "If we advance now," he said slowly, "we secure the line." "And abandon the evacuation routes," Liz added. Silence followed. Finn shifted uneasily. "Father?" King Draven closed his eyes for a brief moment. When he opened them, something had changed. "Hold position," he said. Liz stiffened. "That risks." "I know," my father interrupted. "Do it." That hesitation cost us time, resources, advantage. It also saved lives. I learned then that leadership is marked by moments history will never forgive, or forget. Queen Saren stood beside me as reports streamed in. "Losses confirmed," Liz said. She nodded once. "Acknowledge." I whispered, "How are you so calm?" She answered without looking at me. "Because panic wastes time." A world flickered out on the display. She did not flinch. "Mourn later," she said softly. "Act now." Her calm did not mean absence of pain. It meant mastery over it. I felt both pride and fear watching her. Maps shifted rapidly. Lines redrew themselves. "If humans fail, this collapses," Liz said. "And if we assist?" my father asked. "We lose leverage," Liz replied. "And ships." King Draven looked at me. "Your thought?" I swallowed. "If they save the people, and we save the line, both survive." Liz studied me. "That assumes cooperation." "Then choose it," I said. A long pause. "Coordinate," King Draven ordered. Liz nodded. "History will be unkind." "History usually is," my father replied. The reports confirmed it. Human ships held position, absorbing fire to shield evacuation lanes. Their formations were inefficient, exposed. "They're not retreating," Finn said quietly. "They're staying." "To lose," Liz replied. "To protect," I said. Losses mounted. Ships vanished. The line held, barely. Evacuation complete, a human signal transmitted. I exhaled, not realizing I'd been holding my breath. Humanity had chosen survival. Me broke at last, fractured and retreating. No cheers followed. "We held," Finn said. "At cost," Queen Saren replied. The chamber smelled of heat and exhaustion. Lists of names scrolled past. Too many. King Draven sat heavily. Send aid to the human fleet. Lys nodded. Understood. Victory did not feel like triumph. It felt like permission to grieve. As the noise faded, something settled inside me, not relief, but awe. They knew this would hurt, I said quietly. Yes, my father answered. And they did it anyway. That, he said, is courage. I realized then what frightened me. Courage like that reshapes expectations. It makes excuses harder to find. Later, as silence reclaimed the chamber, I looked at the darkened maps. Humanity had not won cleanly. They had endured.
The command chamber emptied slowly, as if even footsteps feared breaking something fragile. I remained seated long after the screens dimmed. Silence pressed in, heavy and unfamiliar. War did not end with victory. It ended with quiet questions no one rushed to answer. You should rest, Queen Seren said. In a moment, I replied. She nodded, understanding the lie. Silence was not absence. It was reflection demanding attention. King Draven stood beside me, placing the crown on the table. Today changed you, he said. It changed all of us, I answered. He studied me carefully. You spoke when it mattered. I didn't know if I should. That uncertainty, he said, means you still listen. He paused, then added quietly, I'm proud of you. It was the first time he'd said it without command in his voice. Finn joined us, his expression tight. Is this winning? He asked. King Draven did not answer immediately. It's surviving, Queen Seren said. Finn frowned. That's it. For today, she replied. I looked at my brother and saw the weight settling into him, the same weight that had settled into me years earlier. Lys approached with a data slate. Reconstruction estimates, he said. Severe. And political fallout? My father asked. Worse. Lys glanced at me. Your suggestion enabled cooperation. That will complicate alliances. I know, I said. But it also saved millions, he added. Cost and consequence stood side by side, inseparable. Lys nodded once, acknowledging that some prices were worth paying. Kieran placed a cup before me, steady hands, eyes lowered. Thank you, I said. He hesitated, then spoke softly. You did well. The words startled me more than praise from kings. How do you know? I asked. He met my eyes briefly. Because you chose people. That was all. He stepped back into silence, leaving warmth behind in ways no strategy ever could. A transmission arrived, simple, unadorned. Evacuation successful. Losses acknowledged. Gratitude extended. King Draven looked at me. Your response? I thought carefully. We stand with those who protect their people. He nodded. Send it. Lys raised an eyebrow. That commits us. Yes, my father said. It does. Commitment, I learned, was courage sustained beyond the moment. Later, Queen Seren walked with me through the gardens, night air cool against scorched nerves. Will there be another war? I asked. Yes, she said calmly. Soon. Eventually. She stopped. What matters is who we become between them. I watched the stars overhead, distant and patient. The future did not ask for certainty, only readiness tempered with mercy. As days passed, I reflected often. Childhood had not ended abruptly. It had been reshaped, forged into something quieter and heavier. I miss playing, Finn admitted one evening. So do I said. But we can't, he replied. No, I agreed. But we can remember why we wanted to. That remembrance mattered more than innocence ever had. Now, years later, sipping tea as memory drifts gently rather than burns, I see those lessons clearly. War taught me readiness. Humanity taught me restraint. Leadership taught me the cost of choosing anyway. I was raised by war, not toys, but I was shaped by the moments we refused to surrender our humanity. The lesson did not conclude with peace treaties or monuments. It continued, in every decision, every hesitation, every quiet choice made when no one was watching. I set my cup down carefully. Some lessons never end. They simply wait for the next generation to listen. I walk the stone paths of the capital as I once did, though my steps have learned patience that my youth never possessed. My crown is gone, replaced by the quiet weight of years. The towers still cast their long shadows, and the air still smells faintly of iron and dust, but the urgency has softened. I pause where I once hurried, listening not for alarms, but for breath. "Your pace has changed," Advisor Liss remarks beside me, his voice carrying the same careful measure it always has. "It had to," I reply. "The road didn't." He nods, as if marking another unseen calculation, and we continue forward beneath a sky that no longer feels like it is falling. Laughter reaches me before the square does. Children run without armor in their thoughts, chasing light rather than instruction. I stop, watching wooden toys strike stone instead of blades. Once, time was counted in alerts and briefings. Now I count it in moments that do not need to be interrupted. "They don't even look up," Liz says quietly. "Good," I answer, my voice slower than my thoughts. A boy stumbles, rises, and runs again without fear of correction. In my chest, something tight loosens, not fully, but enough. Time, I've learned, isn't what passes, it's what no longer has to be taken away. I sit where the sun reaches the bench last, a cup of tea warming my palms before it forgets how. Steam rises, then fades. Memory does not. I hear drills where there is only wind. I see my father's posture in every straight-backed guard. "You always hold it too long," Queen Seren once told me, adjusting my grip when I was small. "I don't want it to spill," I had said. "Some things must," she replied gently. Now the tea cools anyway. Servant Kieran stands nearby, silent as ever, placing a folded cloth beside me without a word. I nod my thanks. He was always there when warmth was needed but language failed. A child approaches, bold in the way only peace allows. "Are you the king?" she asks. "I was," I say. Her eyes widen. "Did you fight monsters?" I hesitate, longer than strategy ever allowed. "He fought so we wouldn't have to," Kieran says softly from behind me. I look at the child. "Heroes aren't the ones who swing first," I tell her. "They're the ones who decide when not to." She frowns, thinking. "That sounds hard." "It is," I admit. She nods once, then runs back to the others, satisfied with a truth that doesn't shine. I watch her go, feeling the weight of answers I still choose carefully. The council chamber echoes less now. Advisor Liss stands across from me, a projection hovering between us, reports of distant systems, human colonies adapting rather than conquering. "They chose evacuation again," Liss says. "Lost territory. Saved lives." King Draven's voice lives in my memory. "Preparation is love." "And the council?" I ask. "Still debating," Liss replies. "They want definitions. Victory. Failure." Queen Seren's lesson returns, silence as instruction. "Tell them humanity never finished its lesson," I say. "It only paused long enough to endure." Liss studies me. "That will unsettle them." "It should," I answer. "Comfort never taught anyone to survive." The sun lowers itself behind the spires, patient as it always was. I stand where past and present overlap, feeling neither victorious nor defeated. Finn's laughter echoes somewhere distant, older now, wiser. "You think they understand yet?" Finn asks, joining me. "No," I say. He smiles. "Good. Neither do we." Below us, the children keep playing as night approaches, unaware of how closely the galaxy watches them. Humanity's mark was never dominance, it was endurance wrapped in choice. I lift my cooling tea, watching the final light bend across the stones. The lesson is unfinished, the future undecided. And somewhere beyond the stars, civilizations are still learning what it means to grow up without toys, yet refuse to grow cold. Thanks for watching. If this story made you think, hit subscribe. More stories are already on the way. And drop a comment below. Would you have made the same choices Athel did?